fish on the road. Just from this map, you know it's going to be a macro game. Size is huge, early 4 bases. Is.
Nice, but everything you're saying is going to go onto stream.
Yeah, no, but it's like... unless it's PvP, it's usually a macro game because PvP is all cheese fest anyway.
Alright, alright. Alright, so in the top left position, we've got a Grandmaster representing Clan zeez, Celiumn. And in the bottom left, we have our blue Terran player representing none other than Paradox Gaming, little p, big X, little o, Astartes. And casting with me is Phobos. What's up, man?
What's up, guys?
Thanks for joining me all the way from Australia.
Yeah, land of kangaroos, as I've been told.
Well, yeah, like isn't the United States the land of like beaches everywhere and everybody wears swim trunks like all the time?
It's the land of freedom.
Oh, okay.
Country of freedom, and yeah, the beaches are sick. Been to Miami and it's like pure white sand. I'm like, damn.
Alright, so getting into this game, we've got... I mean, this is pretty exciting, man. One of our clan members, Astartes, is playing against a Grandmaster on ladder. That's sick.
Definitely. It seems like he's going for like a standard 12-12 Reaper, whilst Celiumn is going for 15 hatch. Quite typical in this game. You could even argue maybe a command center first would be good on such a big map.
Yeah, command center first. Is that pretty popular among Terrans in TVZ?
It's more of a preference. You lose your early game map control just being annoying with the Reaper, but you do keep up with the Zerg economy going into the mid game.
Alright, so now the spawning pool gets dropped down by the Zerg player like 245. Is that standard, or is it more standard to go like triple hatch before pool, or to take a gas? What's going on with that?
Well, that's actually kind of a late pull. It's a bit greedier. He took 2 extra drones after his hatchery, so he will be delaying lings to like just be the beef for his drones. And typically you see a gas not soon after, but when you see a gas expand like this, it's typically you'll see roaches, simply because just they have a really low gas cost and it doesn't really affect anything.
It doesn't affect anything from like a...
economic perspective.
Alright.
Since you delay gases, roaches cost a little bit of gas, you just chuck down 2 gases at approximately the 5-minute mark. And that's the most typical follow-up. It also deflects any like Hellion shenanigans.
Gotcha. Yeah, Hellions is pretty popular in this matchup, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just, you kind of need it to keep the Zerg back, otherwise they drone up to like 90 drones and then they've got like a 20,000 bank.
Makes sense. There's no other way you can do that besides Hellions? What about like Widowmine drops?
Widowmine drops are alright, but since typically the time they come, Zergs are already getting lair tech anyway, they'll have detection.
Gotcha, that makes sense.
It's still quite a viable thing, but also Widowmines cost gas and it will be delaying any kind of like tech, engineering bays, or anything gas related, whereas Hellions are pure minerals. And the Mule Hammer is pretty good by Terran, you know, they're banking like 2,000 minerals all the time.
Sure.
So it looks like Celiumn actually does lose his second Overlord scouting. Whilst he has taken 2 gases in his main.
So he saw... he saw that you only had one gas in your main, and then he saw the factory being built. But I mean, you're not really doing anything unstandard here, right?
No, like basically from that he didn't see a tech lab and or reactor, so he doesn't know if it's like a Hellion or Banshee pull-up or possibly both. It could be a tank, marine tank, push at around 9 minutes. It just tells him that there isn't a third command center pretty much. So it's actually past the time where the Zerg should be taking his third. Typically they take it around 6:30, so this is delayed by around 30 seconds. And it looks like Astartes did scout the fact that the Zerg third is slightly delayed.
Huh. Okay. He scouted the third was slightly delayed with the Reaper.
Yeah, he was just hanging around that area. It was around 6:40 when the Queens pushed it away, but there was no drone rally to there. And he saw that, so he knows that it's slightly delayed. He's gonna try and like poking with the Hellions now, but Queens and creep spread is quite good by Celiumn.
Yeah, creep spread. How many queens does he have? He's got 4 queens. So like, isn't it normal to have 6?
At this point it's standard to have 4, but it's very common once the third base comes up to add another 2. One for injecting and one for more creep spread, especially on such a large map like this one.
I see.
So it does look like a roach push is coming. And the Astartes does see it with the Hellions. So
How many?
now he's like, oh shit, I have nothing.
How many roaches though?
Crisis mode.
How many roaches did he make? It doesn't look like it's that many.
It's 12 roaches, but 12 roaches can do crippling damage on a natural if it's not unprepared. Like if you're typically at this time, if Astartes wasn't going mech, you typically have around 10 marines in a bunker. But yeah,
oh, okay.
The common TVZ is the Terran's extremely greedy to keep up with the Zerg. But it looks like the Wooden Knights were placed just in time, and tanks do a ridiculous amount of damage to roaches, so
yeah, for sure.
Push it away.
Like would a bio player at that point, if they had middle watchtower and they saw the roaches coming out, would you have time to build a tank and siege it up by the time that push hit?
Most likely not, because you'll be researching stim, so unless you want to cancel stim research, you usually have a naked factory, because it has swapped to the starports to start building medevacs. But typically a bio player to that kind of push, if they don't prepare and get marauders ready and like some sick like repair micro going, that push can do a lot of damage.
Huh.
It doesn't really delay too much by the Zerg, but it can do a lot of damage. But if nothing happens, it doesn't put the Zerg too far behind. So right now, Celium's creep rate is actually like insane. It's already covering like a quarter of the map easily.
Yeah, a meching player, what do they do? Do they send out Hellions to stop the tumors from spreading?
Well, that's the smart thing about the roach play. You can't really send out Hellions because roaches on creep are actually quite fast and will just kill the Hellions outright. It does look like a Muta follow-up is Celium's choice of units, and Mutas are quite annoying for any race, to be honest.
Yeah. Mutas is like the most horrible unit in the game.
It needs to be nerfed where they can't fly and they're as weak as Zerglings, but they still cost 100 gas when they rebounds. It looks like Astartes did get lucky, or he did read it properly. A common transition from roaches is mutas, simply because you just take all your gases at the same time, and he did have the thaw out just in time. But yeah, he's definitely going mech. He's got a tech lab on his starport, so probably expect to see early Ravens over Vikings patrolling looking for overlords. which is just a preference thing. You can either have a little bit of map control with Vikings searching around, or you can go straight for Ravens if you're anticipating a swarm host position.
Gotcha.
Mutas finding the barracks, which stops any additional command
Factories
centers from actually building.
Oh, really?
Commands.
Wait, you have to have a barracks in order to build a command center?
To build an orbital command.
Oh, okay.
But orbital commands are, you know, pretty strong. Mules are pretty OP.
No, obviously. So, swarm hosts.
So yeah, it looks like Swarm Host is probably the best thing to select to go, but he's actually losing to the Swarm Host for a bad rally. So catching two Swarm Hosts like that is actually quite a lot, since they're very gas heavy units.
Well, yeah, and he only had 12, so you reduced it by like almost 20%. Plus, it lets you know that they're coming, and you can siege up your tanks in the appropriate location.
Exactly, so it looks like, by the way Astartes is sieging up, he's looking to take his fort, but not comfortable with it yet, simply because there's no turrets there.
Right, and the mutas could swing in.
Exactly. And then 3 units pretty good for the Zerg. Picks off a tank and a few missile turrets.
Yeah, he's kind of like keeping your mech busy while he tries to harass the mineral lines.
He also does this cute little rage play at the bottom, gives them vision so I can't build additional turrets.
Oh.
So it looks like Astartes will just end up keeping the Thors there for the mutas. So Astartes finally getting that fourth base. It's semi-protected, 3 missile turrets. Don't really do much against like 12 mutas, they just like pick one up at a time. However, he did choose to get the Terran building plating, which actually helps a lot.
The Terran building plating helps a lot against the mutas?
Yeah, that adds theoretically 2 volleys extra for them to kill a turret. Unless of course there's like 40 something mutas. Otherwise around 12 to 20 mutas, they take an extra volley or 2 to kill a missile turret, which is actually
Wow.
quite good.
Yeah, that's a lot. Because it only takes SCVs like the amount of time for 1 volley to fully repair a turret.
Exactly. And for every muta they have, for every 2 muta they have, if the Terran player has 1 missile turret, missile turrets will effectively cost efficiently kill all the mutas while having quite a few survive. So Viper's being added into the mix, so all these units are like your cost efficient units, like keep mech in their base, stop them from getting the 5th, 6th, 7th bases where they get that huge gas bank. And Vipers with their blinding cloud is like the ideal spell to use against mech.
Sure, because mech is really slow.
Exactly, and the pre-siege tanks can't really get out of blinding cloud. Looks like he's choosing to use a duck, getting like nice pickoffs on tank balls, anything he can really. Just the one thing you have to watch out as a Zerg player, clumping up light air units like that and losing them to like 2 Thor volleys.
Whoa!
That was a huge Hunter Seeker missile hit there. One more will actually kill a lot of that stuff.
Now it looks like he has +2 or +1 flyer armor. So if he wouldn't have had that armor, would the mutas have died?
Considering a player attacks twice in a before and in a very, I believe that it's quite possible. Or if the +3 attack was done, if +3 attack was done by full cores, and they didn't have the +1 armor, definitely they would have died. And if you look at the production tab, he's actually he's prioritizing the armor over attacks, simply because he wants to fight with these mutas, not just get in there and pick at stuff.
Sure.
So it does look like the Terran has established his 4 bases, but he's constantly under assault. And getting the 5th base is where a mech player really does feel safe to like start trading units. At
Sure.
4 bases, you still don't want to lose any like units as a mech player, simply because gas is so expensive. So the mutas being annoying, pulling the Thors out of position, and then they attack another side.
So Astartes has 5 factories. Is that about how much you want to have?
You typically want around 7, but since he's going such a strong air composition, it looks like he's like choosing to prioritize more star forts over factories, just to keep up with the Raven Viking count, since that is the late game composition for Terran. And Zerg anti-air, once you get up to like a few battle cruisers to snipe spores, Raven Viking just crushes any kind of Zerg air. So Celiumn being smart with like his micro, just making sure he doesn't take any losses or any stupid hunter seeker missiles to the face. Constantly pulling the air army out of like its position and just like trying to abuse how fast mutas are in general. And he's actually choosing to fight the missile turrets head on, considering he can blinding crowd them. But doesn't choose to stay for long and just kills the turrets and walks away.
Yeah, because then you've got to decide whether or not to focus on building more turrets or like something else.
Exactly, and it looks like Astartes is actually building like another 10 turrets there. Really does not want to be broken by these mutas.
Yeah, when you play mech, you have a lot of minerals, right?
Exactly, but it does get to a point if you do stay on like not enough bases for too long where you can get starved out, simply because you have to keep replacing turrets and units, and 4 bases, the longer the game goes it gets really hard to use them cost efficiently.
I gotcha.
Does look like he picks off some swarm hosts, which is nice. Energy for units, always a good trade. And it's at this point where the mech player has to start like making trades, trying to use his energy to kill units. Muta Viper doing what they do best, just like being annoying. Looks like Astartes will lose his 3rd base, not mining gas or minerals from there now.
But he's got another base right next to it.
That's true, but unless he like moves it over, he is losing mineral time, like mining time.
Sure.
Decides to like just replace it instead of moving it over. Not that I can question his judgment.
Interesting.
So Celiumn constantly moving out of Hunter Seeker missile range.
Yeah.
It does look like Astartes does have like a reasonable defense though. And those stores get a huge shot off on those mutas. And a
Good
really
fungal.
Good fungal on the...
Jeez, that infestor died for sure.
So tanks are a good counter to infestors. If you can try and bait the fungals, they just die to like siege tanks. But chain fungals can kill a whole sky army. Sky turret
Sure.
army. It does look like he actually lost a few infestors to like a miss rally. They got in range of the missile turrets and died. It looks like Astartes is picking off units here and there.
Yeah, like you're getting a few swarm hosts for a trade for a seeker missile.
It takes 2 seeker missiles to kill a swarm host unless they're clumped up. And it looks like Celium's trying to engage the main base gun for the production, but the air arm is almost as mobile as mutas and can often like defend after a short delay.
That's pretty sick, man. So both players have 3/3 upgrades.
Celiumn with a huge bank though, 12k minerals and 6,000 gas.
Yeah, so that's pretty scary. Like if you
This is the point where the Terran knows that he's like needs to start making trades like this. Getting all these swarm hosts with these ravens is a huge trade. So it looks like Celiumn is having trouble breaking or finding a composition that works. Looks like he's building a few more infestors as his like unit composition. Still deciding what he wants though, he can still fill up another 34 supply.
Yeah, I mean at this point he should just chrono boost Phoenix and then he'll win. Just kidding, Phoenix is not good against this Terran army at all. I know from experience.
So it looks like he does dump almost 3,000 gas into 29 mutas.
That was like half of his gas bank.
It's scary when you have to dump that much gas into a unit composition and you're not sure if it'll work.
Oh wow! Dropped so much supply.
Very good micro from the mutas, however, dodging hunter seeker missiles and four shots.
Sure. So he's trying to run in and pick off tanks and then retreat out?
I think any pickup is good. Running in like this is a bit scary when defense runs and turrets.
Well, and he's standing right above Thor's.
Yeah, I don't think that was a cost-efficient trade at all.
Well, he dropped below like 140 supply for a second. Like now all of his gas is all gone.
Now, I guess he's gonna have to rely on Zerglings to like kind of win the game if the next 40 meters don't win.
Well, yeah, but he made
damaged the Sky Terran army though, and did a reset like at the Raven count to 4 or 5.
I guess, but he made 30 mutas, and like they didn't do very much. So what's an extra 10 mutas gonna do?
I guess he's hoping that Astartes will choose the wrong tech switch. Maybe he'll choose like an ultra tech switch and start building more tanks. But I'm not sure about losing 30 meters just to make 40 more.
Our SCVs are under
It's
attack.
quite the risky text, not even a tech switch, just quite a risky remax considering his thought
Yeah.
is a nice 3 to 4.
He's just throwing away so much.
And if you look at the units lost at, it is quite clear that Astartes has been like making the cost-efficient trades here.
Yeah.
1,000 resources ahead of Celiumn.
Jeez.
Celiumn
Muta's
kinda
just
micro
dying
defense.
everywhere.
Yeah, just against highest point defense drones and hunter seeker missiles, it's hard to like micro your heart out.
Yeah, and
And it looks
like
like he hasn't researched Zergling's speed either.
like Astartes hasn't even had to move. Like he's been fighting in the same corner. Like it seems like Zerg should kind of be doing what he's doing now, but take like this base, this base, this base, this base, this base. He should have like maybe 5 more bases.
I believe, yeah, I think he should be expanding like much more than he is right now, but at the same time, the power of the mech army is like late game they have like 20 harvesters, and then their army supplies 180, and if you're still stuck on 80 or so drones, and you're down like 60 army supply, you're never gonna win the engagement anyway.
No, for sure. I didn't mean that he should like fully saturate 5 more bases. I meant he should put hatcheries at those bases.
Yeah, that is true. At least like the gases on like 7 to 8 bases, so you can constantly remax. But I feel like he did expand way too late.
Yeah. Like because he kept Astartes like contained in this little area for basically like 20 minutes.
And even as we see now, it's 40 minutes in and he hasn't taken a good base.
Yeah, and that's because of the cost-efficient trading. Like,
So Muta's still trying to do the thing, but you know, it's just not gonna work. If it hasn't worked 40 minutes into the game, it's just not gonna work once they remax again.
right. Yeah, like, I mean, going from 30 mutas to making 40 mutas to making 50 mutas. I mean, if the Terran just drops below 150 supply every time and only has to make another 50 supply of units, I mean, that's so much gas that you're investing into a unit composition that just hasn't been working.
He does actually get a nice fumble on the air army though. So here now Astartes does see that it's like a Zergling Queen kind of remax. When you see a Zerg like this start building Zerglings for no reason, that's when the mech player knows that they're starved for gas. They just need to kill the current army right now and they theoretically win the game.
Nice.
Celiumn does pick off a few tanks, which every tank is precious in this sort of situation. Tanks are good against Zerglings, Banelings, any kind of roach, low gas tech switches. But at this point it's looking quite grim for the Zerg. No gas count, his army supply is lower, and his just overall unit composition is really weak.
Like, what? Those are sweet Hunter Seeker missiles.
So it looks like Celiumn just goes for the YOLO engagement, hopefully he wins.
Yeah.
It looks like Astartes only dropped about 4 supply in that whole engagement.
Yeah, and the Zerg player's at 78 supply.
That was probably one of the biggest desperation moves a Zerg can make, and this is when the mech player is like, yep, I've totaled enough, I can finally push out now.
Yeah.
A lot of the army is damaged, but you know, it doesn't really matter when you can't get close to it.
Right, because, well, his supply is so low. He doesn't have any gas in order to like, make anything.
Exactly, and he's still building another 12 mutas, 10 just popped. Muta Ling, he thinks he's playing Bio, I presume, I'm not sure.
Well, I'm not saying that his style couldn't have worked. I mean, I'm not a Terran or a Zerg player, but, like, I think he just needed to play more patient. Like, he kept attacking you head on, where mutas and swarm hosts are designed to harass. If he would have just continued building up that bank and, like, never let you get a 5th base, then he would have forced you to move out, and then from that point, maybe he could have forced you into a mistake, and then traded way more efficiently.
Yeah, I believe so as well. I guess maybe just like a big problem with a lot of players as well is that they don't often play the macro game. Like a lot of games in this current meta are quite aggressive, So when it does get to a 40-minute game, they don't know how to properly control such like big armies,
Sure.
and that they're just not sure what type of like unit composition to use, because also mech isn't regularly used in TBZ.
Right. And yeah, I mean, I know what you mean about the large army compositions, because you know I play micro battles, and I always lose when they give me a big army to control. Because I just A move.
So it looks like Bailing is the unit of choice to try and like get back into this game, but I'm pretty sure everyone knows Bailing's suck versus armored units.
Yeah, and like he couldn't afford anything else is the only reason he made him.
I still believe a Roche Lean composition would have been a lot better than Mutaling, considering how full game Astartes has had at least 4 cores in his composition, which is enough to one-shot a Mutafrog if they get too close together.
Yeah, and then roaches at least, I mean, take they take they're cheap. They're cheap, so you can keep remaxing on them.
Early on, roaches are quite a good counter to floors, just how cost efficient they are, and floors are, I believe, 6 supply, so they are a huge supply cost. And
No
also,
GG?
Also, no GG. Guess
Wow. That's awesome. All right, man. Well, that ends the cast. Thank Phobos for joining me here, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you guys.